thank him for getting our speakers. And I think you will enjoy today's speakers. Rodney and I have known Roger Gastineau. We're changing the pronunciation of his name right now. For Roger and his wife for over 40 years. And Rodney and Roger worked together, and also Carl worked with Rodney and Roger at Rostam. And Roger, I want to call you Rodney, because people call Rodney Roger, and yeah. Roger currently works as a manufacturing representative for his own company, helping other manufacturing firms improve. However, today Roger and Chris are going to share their work with the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. Roger is currently president of the board of directors of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. He's been on the board for directors for them for 8 years. And overall, Roger has been with the Big Brothers program for 12 years, 6 years in the system and 4 years outside. His little brother was 12 years old when they were matched, and he is currently 24 years old, and the little brothers leave the program at age 19. And Roger is recognized as a member of the 100 Men Who Give and the Community Foundation of Greater Lafayette. And Chris Hannon is the executive director of the organization here in town. And Chris has been the executive director since 2014, and he studied secondary social studies education at Purdue. And he is a member of Rotary Club of Lafayette Daybreak, and he is an alum of Leadership Lafayette's class of 43. And please help me welcome Roger and Chris as our presenters today.
Anyway, I would like to just delay, but have a happy dollar for Coach. I call him Coach Crawl, Chuck Crawl. He has a little different take on what happened back when I was at Harrison. Actually, Mr. Fall, when we consolidated East Hip, Klondike, and Battleground, Mr. Fall's son was the very first quarterback at Harrison, and I was the second one. Mr. Crawl was our coach for the JV team, and my recollection was, for whatever I did, he wasn't happy with it. And he walked up to me and grabbed me by the face mask and started shaking my head. So that's the best memory I have of Coach I don't think it stopped there, but that's the best one I can remember. Actually, Ted told me I'm supposed to tell stories and have a good time. So anyway, we really appreciate the invite for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm the president of the board of directors, and as all of you know, in nonprofit organizations, the best way to become president is to be involved in the organization for quite a few years. So I started out when I was in my early 20s. I was a big brother for a couple of years, and then the little brother, we refer to him as the little. The big brother's the big, the little brother's the little. And he moved away. And one thing led to another. So then I'm going to fast forward all the way until 11 years ago. My youngest child was a freshman. She was a freshman at Purdue University. And I remember she started school in the fall. And when she went to school, at Christmas time, we always try to help a family or whatever the case may be. And I said, well, I need to do something civically, get more involved in the community. So I had a familiarity with Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I just walked into their office over on Creasy Lane. Met the executive director, told her I was interested in getting involved in the program, and with that I became a big. I got matched with my little. He was 12. His family was probably pretty typical, and Chris could verify this. Single family, living with his mother and his older brother. Father had the parents had divorced. Obviously, the father had remarried. The father's on house arrest for his third DUI. In the meantime, while we were paired, the father had a couple more DUIs, ended up going to prison. As we fast forward, my little older brother had his issues. He had drug and alcohol issues. He's on house arrest. So this is the environment that a lot of these kids grow up in. And what I told him when I got involved is, I don't want to be Santa Claus to this young man. I just want to help him make some decent decisions and stuff as we go forward. So he and I were in the system from the time he was 12 until the time he was 19. And then we still meet occasionally for lunch or what have you, because I want to stay in touch with him. And, you know, he's done very well for himself. He works for Kirby Risk now. He's a machinist. And there's one thing, not to bring politics into it, but I think in 2012 there was a presidential election, and during the campaign, Rick Santorum, who's a fairly religious person, was talking about success and how kids become successful and what have you, and what's important. And he said there's three things. One, graduate from high school. Two, get married. And three, have children. And if you have them in that order, there's a 98% chance you'll live out of poverty. So that all, I mean, for all of us, particularly your generation, that seems pretty, you know, that's just kind of typical for us to go through that particular process. So with that being said, my goal was to make sure he graduated from high school. So we can talk about college and things like that, but first things first. So he did graduate from high school. Then he went into the service for 3 or 4 years. And then he got discharged because he had a bad knee. So he got discharged, came back, and started working here in the community. So I'm very proud of him, and he's done a really nice job. And I like to tell that story because I think it's a success story. And the true success was that he's going to be 22 years old, and about 3 months ago, he sent me a text. It was like midnight on a Saturday night. I'm thinking, uh-oh. You're just kind of waiting, based on his past, they're waiting for the next shoe to drop, if you will. He sent me a text and said, thanks. So I called him. I text back to him. I said, thanks for what? And he goes, just thanks for helping me out, you know, over these last 10, 12 years. So that was the reward in itself right there. So it's been a great relationship. Like I said, I've been involved with Big Brothers for a number of years now. It's a great organization. And I plan on continuing staying involved in the organization. 3 years ago, we brought Chris Hannon in, who's done a phenomenal job. Matter of fact, we just went through an audit with United Way. As you know, we're a chapter of United Way, and they gave him very high praise for the way that he runs our organization. So we're very lucky to have him. So that's a little story about, you know, what our organization's all about. It's one-on-one mentoring, which is a little different than a lot of programs, but it works. It works, and it's very important that we have funding from people like your folks, like yourself. We really appreciate the funding, because only about a third of our funds are what I would consider fixed, which comes from United Way. Everything else comes through fundraisers that we have, donations, grants, and things of that nature. So we appreciate the invitation. Secondly, we really appreciate your support over the years. I know you've been a good we've benefited tremendously from your organization for a number of years now, and it's greatly appreciated. So there's the story I have, Ted. And with that, I'm going to introduce Chris Hannon. He's going to kind of talk about maybe some more details, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. But there again, thank you very much, and we look forward to our relationship going forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me echo what Roger was saying, that how grateful we are to have this Kiwanis Club support over the last number of years. And as I work my way through the presentation today, I'll tell a story about how you benefited one of the matches that show up here in my presentation. So keep that in mind. So what are we about? Roger hit the nail on the head. We're very much in alignment with the values of Kiwanis. Our goal is to help kids, right? And particularly kids who are facing adversity of some kind or another. There's a lot of different factors that can fall under that label of adversity, and we can talk about those in a moment. But our mission is to create life-changing friendships between a caring adult and a child in need. And our vision is to impact the community through those relationships in a positive way. Roger mentioned that his little brother graduated from high school. Well, we consider that a positive impact. Some go on to higher education, staying out of the juvenile justice system or out of their school's truancy mediation program. Those are all indicators of success. We'll talk about impact here in just a moment. But we are a local chapter of the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America, and there are currently 302 Big Brothers, Big Sisters programs operating throughout the 50 United States, including the territory of Guam. And the national office supports us mainly through the vehicle of infrastructure and technology. They provide the database and the technology that we need. They operate our servers and databases, things that we wouldn't be able to afford on our own. So that really takes a big cost burden away from us, so we're grateful for that support. But each one of our offices is an independent 501c3 organization. We create our own policies, we govern ourselves, and we pay dues into the national office. So our services are free to families, and that's something that we are very proud of. We enroll our children and families free of charge to them, so our responsibility is to go out into the community and build relationships with funders, and we spend a lot of time doing that in the nonprofit industry. If any of you are on boards or serving in a volunteer capacity of any kind, the mantra of no money, no mission is very popular and very true, and it's true for us. But our model in terms of helping kids, and I know that's hard to see, but our focus is on kids, helping prepare them for life after high school. What does that look like? I myself was a product of the middle class, and we spent a lot of time talking about the future. Well, when you don't know where you're going to sleep, you don't know what or if you're going to have dinner tonight, it's kind of hard to be thinking 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And our big brothers and big sisters help introduce our little brothers and little sisters to that kind of thinking. Okay, let's start projecting out a few years down the road. What's that going to look like? What do you want to do? What are you passionate about? What do you care about? And let's plug into that spark and make something out of it. So the way I look at the role of our mentors in our programs, they find the spark, they find what makes the kid tick, what they're passionate about, what they get excited about every day, and they open doors of opportunity for them. And from that, all sorts of positive benefits result. But not just the workplace, we're interested in helping them succeed academically where they are. A lot of the kids who come into our program are struggling behaviorally, they're struggling academically, and those things are often related. If any of you are teachers, you know that if a child is having behavioral issues, it's hard for them to concentrate and focus to learn and move from one grade to the next. So mentoring has an impact on academic performance. And it also has this other impact on your emotional development. Having an adult present in your life outside of mom and dad or your immediate family plays a tremendous role in child and youth development, positive development. Having somebody that you know is in your corner, that cares about you, and will go to bat for you when needed makes all of the difference. One of the survey questions that we ask our littles when they come in, do you have an adult in your life that cares about you? And the answer to that, as of this morning, out of all we've served about 10,000 kids in our history, it's about 47%. About half of the kids who come into our program say they don't have anybody in their life that cares about them. A year later, after having been in our program for 1 year, we're very proud to say that that answer is 100%. They're big. We introduce into their life a caring adult who cares about them. And it makes an impact. So not just the children, but we also help the families. We're a good referral source to other nonprofit organizations in town. As we get to know the child and we get to know the family, we become very aware of their needs. Maybe it's food insecurity, or job training, or their utilities have been turned off in the middle of November or December. Well, we can help with that. We can connect them to resources here in town. So we're very proud that our organization can play some part in helping families develop and grow and get the resources that they need. So the kids that we're serving today, Roger mentioned his little brother came from a single parent household. The vast majority of our children come from similar circumstances. A lot of them are in foster care, living in what we would call untraditional family environments. Maybe they're living in a group home setting. They've been removed from their home by family services or the juvenile court system, or maybe they're just coming out of a stint with the Department of Corrections. That is an element of the children we serve. Youth in the rural parts of the county, youth of color, Just over half of the children in our program are youth of color here in Tippecanoe County, including African American, Hispanic youth, and youth who are at elevated risk for involvement with the juvenile justice system. That's how the kids who fall into our groups, mentoring programs, are classified today. So a little bit about us by the numbers. I included a few here that I think are relevant when I'm out talking to community groups. 22 months is the average length of relationship that we start today. So if somebody comes in the door, wants to volunteer, on average, about 2 years these relationships last, but many of them are like Roger's. They last long after the match is officially closed. They're lifelong matches. Long after they leave our program, they're in touch with each other. A lot of military folks in here, a lot of little brothers go on to serve in the military, and just last year, we had a former little brother serving in Korea, and his former big brother is an airline pilot, and they were over in Seoul, and they were reunited there, and they sent us pictures back of their match, and so we'll get things like that all the time. Our bigs and littles meet up all over the country and sometimes all over the world and get reunited, and so those, of course, make us very happy. 3/4 of the kids that we're serving, 77% are coming in and living in single-parent households. 4 out of 5 report back to us that they start thinking about higher education solely because of the relationship they've developed with their big brother or their big sister. A lot of our kids have never been across the bridge over into Purdue University and may have no idea that it even exists. A lot of our big brothers and sisters come from Purdue. Half of our volunteer base is made up of Purdue students. They can introduce them to that world of higher learning and educational programming that's going on right in their backyard. We've got 75 kids as of this morning who are on our waiting list. So what that means is the demand for our service is very high. We've got more kids who are asking for the service than we're able to provide. In terms of volunteer rates, we're always out in the community, not just raising dollars, but we're recruiting volunteers to come be a big brother or big sister mentor to one of the kids who are on our waiting list. That number fluctuates, but it hovers everywhere between 75 and 100 from month to month. The average age of our littles in our program is just under 12 years old, and the average age for our bigs is 33. So I know there's typically, when people think of our program, they think of younger kids volunteering, but some of our best volunteers are over 65. We've got 9 today who are big brothers and big sisters who are in that demographic, and we love and enjoy having them be a part of our program. So let me back up. Sam and Jaden. So for the last number of years, this club has been donating money to our agency, and we've been earmarking that money to help littles in our program who want to participate in some academic or some athletic event or club, but aren't able to because they can't afford it. And so using the money that this club gives us every year, we give out scholarships to kids who are in our program that fall under those circumstances. And the young man in the red and black, that is Jaden, and he was a beneficiary of your generosity. Basketball was his passion, and I don't know if you got grandkids who are playing sports, but it's expensive to get kids the gear they need to be in these, to be on these teams and in these clubs. Just kind of blew my mind, hundreds of dollars, and we were able to outfit him with the shoes and the gear that he needed to be on the basketball team. That was motivation for him to keep his grades up. So I threw his picture in here so you could see a face of a child that you helped with your donations every year. That's his big brother, Sam. Sam was the big brother of the year in 2015. He was matched with Jaden back in 2008, I believe, so they've been together 9 years. And this is Jaden's graduation picture in May of 2016. He graduated from Jefferson High School and is now attending Ball State in sports journalism. So very proud of him. Another one of our success stories. Good looking kid, a lot of talent and potential. and somebody's invested 9 years of their time just showing up for him and made a big difference in his life. So our process, you know, somebody applies and the process begins. Hey, I'm interested in volunteering. Well, it's a lengthy process, or it can be. It can take us about 2 months to get everybody matched because of our screening and training process that's required. We're a unique nonprofit organization in the sense that we don't have a lot of one-time volunteer opportunities for volunteers. We're asking for a commitment from our folks to show up for at least a year and on a weekly basis. And so there's a lot of training that has to go in it. There's a lot of risk involved. We're the only service in town that is asking adults to pick up kids and be alone with them in the car and out in the community. So there's a lot of screening and training that has to be done. And once someone makes their way through that process, we make the match, and that's the most exciting part of the job and enjoyable part for all of us in the office, is introducing a little to their big for the first time. So our impact, 71% of the littles in our program last year saw improvements in their academic performance, showing up in the way of improved grades. Almost 3 and 4. 100% of our littles who were in their senior year last year, we had 4 of them, all 4 of them graduated. That's a 100% success rate, and we're pretty proud of that. I know it was a small sample size, but we'll take it. And 84% of our littles reported last year that their self-esteem improved. They felt better about themselves as a result of being in our program and having a caring adult in their life. And 97% of our littles told us that their big has made a difference for them personally. So proud to be a part of this program, proud that we have your support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about our program. Yes, sir.
How many littles do you have matched?
We served 280 kids last year, and we've got about 175 active matches at the moment. So that number fluctuates, but we're on pace to serve about 220, 230 kids this year. Yes, sir.
How do you so little know that your program exists and get into the application process?
Oh, that's a good question. We never have to do any advertising or recruiting for littles. They find us. The schools are a good referral source, the courts, word of mouth. I mean, a lot of families have been benefited by our programs, and they tell people in their circles that they should consider enrolling their kids. And so our phone rings off the hook every day with people who are reaching out for more information about how they can get their kids involved. So we got to do a lot of marketing and speaking for volunteers, but not for littles. Yes, sir.
The Big Brothers, do you have meetings with the Big Brothers like every 2 months to see how the progress is going with the little brother?
We've got professional case management staff who are in the office. Their sole job is to support the matches that we make. So there's a contact schedule that we have to follow. There are safety guidelines from the national office that each agency has to follow to make sure that the matches are being safe and that they're being productive. There's a lot of things that can come up. Anytime you're working with people, a lot of situations can arise that you would never in a million years anticipate. And that's where our veteran case management staff comes in and can help our mentors kind of navigate through some of those challenges that they're facing. A lot of different things can pop up and you need help. I don't know if you've spent any time with an 8 or 9 year old lately, but sometimes they can be hard to talk to, right? They don't give you a lot. They're kind of quiet and you're thinking, oh, is my investment really paying off? I don't know if they're enjoying their time with me or not. So our case management staff are experienced in helping our folks navigate those challenges.
You've been talking about boys. And you do girls as well, I understand, right?
We do, that's correct.
What's the relationship, what's the percentage of boys and girls, and what's the differences maybe between the two programs?
In terms of the numbers that we serve?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 38-62 ratio, boys to girls. So 38% of our program is comprised of little brothers. And that's simply because more women than men volunteer. Yeah. So We've been trying to get that as close to 50-50 as we can over the years, but it's a real challenge, it's a real lift.
Is there
Now-
a difference between how the men and the women deal with their kids? Is there any
I would say the challenges are quite similar. The family dynamics are quite the same, and a lot of times they're siblings, so it's not just one kid from the family signs up. The family comes in, they want to enroll all of their children, and so we'll be serving multiple siblings from the same family. So I'd say the challenges are pretty similar. Now, the nature of the time they spend together, that is very different based on gender and what their interests are. So how they spend their time together out in the community, gender has a lot to do with that.
Two other quick ones. Are all of yours community-based, or do you have some site-based?
I overpassed that in the interest of time, but we got two programs. Our school-based program is smaller. There's about 40 kids in that program today. The volunteers meet with the child at their school over the lunch hour once a week. And that works out for a lot of people's schedules. They can get away from work, and it's a fixed time that they meet every week, and that works for a lot of people. They really enjoy that. The community program is by far the biggest, with over 120, 130 kids in that program. But there are two.
What percentage of your 95 are boys and girls that are on the waiting list?
It's inverse. So we're serving 38%, but about 62% of our waiting list is made up of boys. Yes, ma'am.
Did I hear that you're moving into the new Faith campus? Is that
The
correct?
North End Community Center, that's right. So next summer, I don't know if you've been by there lately, but they're making a lot of progress on that building. And we were proud to be a part of that project. It's going to be rent-free to us. It's going to save us a lot of money every year. And it's going to put us in a higher profile position. We're going to be closer to the children and families that we're serving. We're kind of tucked away off of Sawmill right now, south of downtown, off of 4th Street, just simply an office space. So we've been there for 3 years, and so we jumped at the opportunity to be a part of that project, and we're excited to get in there. If there's nothing else, thank you all for your time.
In that, Chris had showed a stat up there that the average length is 22 months. They've proven that you need to have a relationship for at least 18 months for it to really, pay dividends. As the older the big or little is, the longer the relationship. So once he's talking about our average age of our bigs are 33. So once they get in that 33, 40, 50, those relationships start to last longer and longer. So I think a lot of times it's a perception. Kids are paired, these young kids are paired with young adults because that's more exciting, like if you were a Purdue student or something like that. But the relationships are a little bit different. The older you are, the longer the relationship lasts, which is kind of interesting dynamic. So if you have 30, 40, 50, 60, we have 70-year-olds. So, there's a little bit goes a long way. Trust me. So there again, we appreciate your time, your support, and maybe we'll see you in the future. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Roger. We really appreciate your coming and sharing. And we have a small token of appreciation for your coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
And also, let's give them a hand again. Next